I went ahead and started the recording, and I'm going to jump in here. Pretty much the goal is you want to go over ES. I'm going to check that with the VIX, compare that to beta names, and I'm going to check over Vaccine Yeehaw's TA in the DD chat. And I'm going to go through that just to kind of review it. And this is what you posted up. Make sure this is after the close. Let me make sure. 4-4. Yeah. Okay. So first, I'll just do that first right away. I'll just go over your thoughts on everything. So one thing I'll point out is it's really good that you are looking at the FinViz, you know, basically the reports or the PRs that might relate to the ticker you're watching. So it's good to check that. Place emphasis on it, like learn, but the main things you need to pay attention to is earnings and any big catalyst that you see reflected in the charts. Outside of that, we have a heavy focus on technicals, which is what we look at here. So you know what you said, so we have bad job reports, and you're saying it looks like the momentum is waning, and that's why we got the 4 red days in the middle of January. The bounce into February only brought us to 45.50, which is only like half the sell-off that started on 113. Hey, so that's a really good point you made. Essentially, what you're saying is that we only bounced back up to this 44.50 level from the downside. Let me move back here. Bring it back to right in here. Okay. So essentially, roughly what you're saying is we started selling off right around here, right? Sold back down, bounce, and this is roughly 50% retracement of this downside. That is a very good point to note, and also that's why we're seeing resistance here, because people are like, well, we bounced halfway, I'm gonna go ahead and take some off. He said we're continuing to sell after the close on 45.50 twice, and after rejecting it today, the RSI is trending towards oversold. We still have 10 points until 30. That's a good note that we have a little bit more room. And that also correlates with the previous channel we have here, right? So I'm thinking we could see 4,300 in a week. We have a fall through. You said supply. I just say resistance or demand, right? So support or demand would be below the price, and supply or resistance would be above the price. So this would be, we'd have to fall through demand at 44.50, 4,400, and 43.25, which are the biggest points of support. It's unlikely we have a bullish day due to 3 days rejecting. Okay. So basically what you're saying is it looks like short-term bearish. It looks like after we rejected this 45.50 area, we could pull back towards 4,300. Yeah. So very possible. Another way to look at this, and we'll know when it's right when it happens, right? But we got the pullback, we got the bounce, roughly 50% retracement from the highs. We're pulling back on the daily. These long wicks on the daily show that people are buying to support the current price. We could see room back towards mid-channel, like between the low of this 4,200, high 4,600. So that mid-channel is roughly 4,400, right? 4,380, right around here. I could see a pullback into that 50% retracement on the daily to make a higher low and push back towards the highs. It's harder for you to say. We're here, we rejected mid-channel, therefore it's likely we head back to 4,300, right? It could happen, yes, but what's more likely to happen is we form an equilibrium pattern, which is a higher low over that prior low. Just because, look at the wicks and the buying pressure we've seen come in here so far. We got through the majority of the big tech earnings, and the markets are staying up-ish, right? So it's possible that we make a higher low here above that previous low of 4,300. So good thoughts. It just really depends on what your bias is, and what you're thinking. I think you say it's unlikely we have a bullish day due to 3 days rejecting 45.50. I think it's very possible we could have a bullish day tomorrow, and we could move back over that 4,500 and push towards that, 45.50 or 45.90. Or we could gap down, flush the lows, and then go look to make a higher low around that 43.80, 4,400 area. Just really depends. And then let me go check on. But overall, I mean, it's good thoughts on that. I can see there's a bearish lean on it. And then here's your thoughts on Apple. Throw this over here. Apple, there's apparently a new low budget iPhone coming out, which could spell good news. Okay, possibly, yes, but that doesn't mean it'll correlate with a upside move in the stock. Just depends on, it could, but one thing you'll notice is despite the fundamental catalysts on everything, pretty much everything's been trading the same on the daily chart, right? So it is significant, but I would place more of an emphasis, like 80% technical, 20% fundamental is a pretty good bias, I think. in a bullish move for Apple, and it could be why we say the price hold. We saw the price hold today. However, there's still a lot of pressure from the overall market to sell the base off the ES. Another big tech stock selling off like Facebook. We closed underneath the prior close and looking at the first loss of trading since range since February 1st. Our side's holding in the middle of the road. I'm holding my puts. So you have the 150 strike puts. Okay, so let me just pull this up here, just to refresh my mind on the chart. So pretty much. You're looking at like, yeah, same thing as SPY. Pulled back, bounced over 50%, pulled back, bounced under 175, saw supply, and you're thinking we're going to roll a little bit lower. Okay, we did get a nice dump there into the close. And so you said a lot of pressure from the overall market to sell. It's possible. If I were you, I mean, I can't say. Like, if the ES pulls back towards 4,400, Apple should pull back towards 166, 167. I don't know about it getting to the 150 strike, but here's something you need to keep in mind. That 150 strike would correlate with down here, which on ES is essentially that 300, let's say 4270 area. Also is as far as a risk, I think the risk if you're short should be on 175 on Apple. Anything over that, we can break out and head to 177.50, 180. So that should be your short side risk. You want to see us take out that 170 and then see continuation down towards the next demand, which is around 166, 167. If the ES breaks below 4,400 and heads towards 4,350, I would expect us to be heading through 165 towards that previous consolidation zone, around that 157.50. So if you're bearish on the ES, being bearish on the SPY, or if you're bearish on the ES, being bearish on Apple makes sense. Just make sure you have that risk controlled trade. And I'll tell you how my thoughts kind of differ on this since you just charted the ES and Apple. So on the ES, let me pull up the VIX here. First, I'll talk about the ES, what I'm looking at. On the VIX, what a surprise. Huge, we had a huge yank, boom. VIX ripped up, stuffed it, and now VIX is trading around $23, almost $22 there into the close. It's very close, one bullish day, and this thing is sub 20. Remember, sub 20 is when the bulls see the most confidence. So really, I'm not impressed with the VIX right now. I want to see this thing get below 20, and that's going to add a lot of confidence to the bulls to break over that $4,600 level. That being said, let me go to the hourly on the ES. You'll see we had a lot of chop back here, a ton of chop. Just trying to get over that 44.35 supply. We broke out of it here, moved to the upside, rejected 4,600, which makes sense, guys. That was a pretty, a strong psychological level, and we had a nice follow through on the breakup. And now we're pulling back and retesting the breakout level, right? We touched it and then soaked it, ripped back up green, and we rolled red to the close. So a lot of short-term volatility. But the overall, what to expect of the price remains the same. The same technical levels are in play. Bulls line in the sand heading into Sunday's session and Monday's session is 44.35. Anything below 44.35, and we're back in this previous channel. So if we're back in the previous channel, the bottom of that channel is that 4,300, which Vaccine Yeehaw was looking at, right? So if we break back into this channel, I wouldn't expect to see demand until we fall down to the bottom of it, okay? However, I think what's likely is if you're long, play off this low here, you're looking for the reclaim of 4,500, a move back red to green, and push up towards these 45, let's just say 80 highs up here, okay? It's very possible if we go on the day, like I said, you're seeing these lower wicks, there is buying, 3 red days in a row, and we're still holding up over the breakout level. So I think it's very possible we might get an inside bar to start the day off Monday or start the session off Sunday, reclaim 4,500, go over that 45.20, and then the potential is for the bulls to push for that 4,600 into Tuesday, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking is a more likely scenario given how we've survived earnings, guys. I mean, we've seen some names get crushed. Facebook, absolutely crushed, right? Sold off, but there's been a steady bid in this thing the entire time. Let's see, Amazon even, which was actually very interesting. Amazon had a nice bullish move, sold from 3,300 all the way down to 3,000. Okay, dropped 300 points pre-market. They still bought it up. Sure, they dumped it into the close, right? But they still bought it up. Apple, a lot of volatility here. It looked really ugly on this wash off, the selling down to the open on Friday. But we soaked it and we closed higher. You can look at Microsoft. You can look at same thing. Sold into the open. We held it and moved higher. You can look at Nvidia. Okay, held the lows, moved back. And if you notice on all these beta names, they all had the same channel and bounce that the ES had, where it pulled back, channel, bounce. and they're all set with clear lows of the range, pending that upside breakout and reclaim. I think the market's set up with the potential for that bullish leg. The bullish thesis ceases to exist if any of these names, basically Beta or ES, break Friday's low, Friday's intraday session low at that 44.35 on the ES. In any of these names, if they break those prior lows, that's when it, if Apple gets below 170, oh, well, where's the next stop? I mean, we're getting back into this channel. We're going to stop at 163, 167, 166. You know what I mean? Same thing for like AMD. We come down here and break 119. We're at that point we can fall back to 110. Or really, but before it broke down, the channel went all the way as low as 100, right? Pre-earnings. So that's kind of my thoughts as far as ES and Apple. Apple had a very nice breakout to the upside, and it's shopping around under that 175, but it can easily, it held 170, which is a major psychological demand. It can soak it, move back to 175, and break out and head for that 177, 180. So it really just depends on what futures does. That determines the bias. Those are my thoughts on ES. But just because of the fact that the VIX isn't really ripping right now, and it had an opportunity for us to roll and got crushed, I'm really leaning towards the bulls take control of the narrative and bring us back to 4,600 as long as we hold that prior low. So in that situation, in that case, it's a pretty close stop. And let me see what else. On the hourly here, into futures this evening, of course, I'm watching this 44.35. And also I'm watching 45.20. I want to see, we'll open somewhere mid-range here. Do we immediately reclaim 4,500 and move to the upside? Or do we see it slowly trickle down towards 44.50 in the overnight session at 44.35? That's going to be very important. Futures has a lot of good information on it to keep an eye on. Some of the flow I want to mention from Friday. Let me go ahead and bring it over here. Let me get a screenshot. A lot of the flow from Friday's session. I'll bring this here. You'll note on the bear side, just random, I don't know what MAC is, Chewy, some Ford. Here's SPY bear flow at 1.1 million on the sweeps. Now look on the bull side, okay? But you notice, where's Apple? Where's Nvidia? Where's Tesla? Where's Amazon? Nothing. It's not over here, okay? Let's look on the left side, bullish flow, SPY, 10.6 million. Compare that 10.6 million to the 1.1 million on the bear side sweeps. Amazon, Tesla, the Qs, okay? You got Twitter, there's Nvidia, Facebook. So we're seeing more bull side sweeps here on Friday into the long weekend than we saw bear side sweeps. I think the edge is going to be looking for those names like, well, just in this situation, we saw Amazon and Tesla at the top, okay? Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla right now is trading with bulls line in the sand is 880, right? 900 mid-channel reference, overhead supply is at 9, let's just say 950. Over 950, this goes to 1,000. It might pause at 980, but it goes to 1,000. Everyone's looking for that, and everyone's charting for that. Amazon had a really bullish earnings response, soaked to the 3,000, moved all the way back to 3,200. Man, that would have been a sweet, sweet entry. I just didn't get it, guys. But yeah, and it pushed up towards 3,200, and there is potential. Once we get over that 32, that's a big major prior supply level, right? 3,200. That's why we rejected it on Friday. Get over 32, we can go straight 33, 34, right? So I can see why they have bullish flow on that. And guess what? If Tesla, Amazon, and the ES, there was a ton of calls on SPY. Let me actually pull up the specific SPY flow and show it to you here on stream. So you'll kind of see what some of the bets were on the SPY that were made Friday. I'm going to sort these by the largest sized bets so you can get the most significant bets. You'll want to take note of the time frame of these when the orders came in. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So here we go. At 1 p.m. you had these were for Friday's expiration, the 4440s. Actually, don't look at any of these, any that are already expired. You're looking at the swing trade entries, okay? So here we go. This guy bet $400,000 that will be at 45.30 into next Friday's expiration. Okay, that's a pretty aggressive bet. Right here, he bet on the 7th, right? Coming into Monday, we're going to be at 4,500. He bet $337,000, guys. And remember, the SPY was only at 444. These are out of the money calls, big money out of the money calls. This guy bet for on the 14th. He's buying the 450s at the money, and he put 295 grand into these. Okay, these are pretty significant. All these guys that I X'd out, these options already expired on Friday. Oh, except for this one. This one's actually March. I didn't notice that. This guy bet on the 458 spies when the price is at 444. He bet $340,000 that March 4th we're going to push into that or be at or above that level. These are big bullish side bets, right? In the relatively short term. If we see more of these come into Monday, that further reinforces the bullish idea and the bullish narrative that we have heading into this week's trading session. So for right now, that's pretty much all I've got for you guys. Probably my top watches, beta names, is going to be Amazon. Heading into next week, Amazon's this range, guys, is insane. Look at this. We had it opened up here at 3,100, right? Sold all the way down to a low of 3013. That's about a 100-point drop there in just minutes, right? Let me go to the 1 minute chart and actually pull it up. 3 minutes, right? Then it had a bounce for 50 points on the bounce, pulled back to this lows, right? To the lows, and then rallied all the way up 130 points. And then continued up another 100 points after that. Insane range on Amazon. I like the bullish side washouts on that. Probably not going to play Tesla. I'm also watching NVIDIA. The reason why I'm watching NVIDIA is because it had a lot of bull side sweeps that came through over the past week, really. And this thing is churning. Its earnings is coming up in 10 days from now. So this is going to be a good watch. I think it's going to go for that 250 reclaim heading into next week. Before I get off stream, I'll go ahead and show you the flow. The flow we had on this. Taking a glance here, we got some Februaries. These are expired. Don't worry about those. Yeah, or this one. Okay. So really, we've got these are leaps. Don't worry about those. I like short-term expirations. So really, we have people betting through earnings that NVIDIA is going to see 270 on March 18th. Right? They bought these when the stock was at 240 and 242. $1 million betting that we're going to have a positive response post earnings. These were bought for next Friday, so this upcoming Friday, when the stock was at 241, they spent $360,000 on those 250 calls. These are huge bets, guys. These are massive bets, and it's good to pay attention to these heading into the next trading day session. So NVIDIA off the lows. 235 is a good reference. 240 is an okay reference. We kind of really violated that over the past trading day. But 235, watch that, especially if we get a weak open on the ES. I'm going to be watching that 235, 230. Look at how quick we soaked these lows. See how quick we soaked these pullbacks in that 237? NVIDIA has a lot of range. It's a very good watch. So, all right, guys, well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And continue to stay focused, develop that bot mentality, which is that trading mentality where you learn to eliminate your emotions so you can trade like a machine, guys. And I think I'm out of here. Make sure there's nothing in chat. Yeah, I'm out of here. Deuces.